Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel and welcome back to the Sims 4 speedrunning video, or welcome to the channel if you're new here. So in today's video I'm going to be building the world of Brindleton Bay, which is the world that we got from the expansion pack of Sims 4 Cats and Dogs, and I'm going to be building some American suburban family homes. So this lot ends up having two different family homes. We have one 4-bedroom, 2-bathroom house, and the other one ends up being a 3-bedroom and again 2-bathroom, and together they are built on this 40 by 40 lot. Now, pretty much ever since the 4 rent expansion pack has been out, I've built a handful of different residential rentals in the game, which that is a new lot type that we got from this EP. You can basically have multiple different households or multiple different families live on the one lot. And something that I've noticed, and I don't know why, but whenever I seem to build them, for some reason, more so than not, I will always opt for a residential rental that has at least 3 different units or 3 different houses on the lot itself. So I mean, an example of this is my last one before this one. I built a set of 2 different apartment complexes in the world of Mount Conrebby, and together there ended up being 6 different apartments on that lot. So you could have 6 different households, 6 different families just live on that one lot. And then other than that, I've built a few different townhouses. I've built some New York ones. I've built some San Francisco ones. I've also built some British stuff. I've built some terraced houses pretty recently. But other than one building, which I did do, which was a British semi-detached house, everything else that I've seemed to build with the 4 rent expansion pack, for some reason, I just must love the number 3, because I've always just been building at least 3 different units on the lot. And so I was thinking, well, it might be quite nice to build another residential rental, but make it so this time there is only 2 houses or 2 units on the lot, and try and make it feel a little bit kind of like classic American suburban family homes, like a little row of houses somewhere in the suburbs in the US somewhere. And so yeah, that is pretty much exactly what I did, and I really hope you guys like it. But anyway, getting on from that and talking a little bit more about the build itself and also what I'm doing right now. So currently I'm just coming in and figuring out the window placement for house number 1, or the greenhouse. I've been referring to it in my head as the greenhouse because, well, it's just green in it. It's just the colour of it. But the way that I did the wallpapering for both houses, I was just trying to think classic American suburban. It's got to be some sort of sliding. And so for this one, it ends up being green. But then for the neighbouring house, it ends up being blue. But this is the house that ends up having 4 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms. But I was thinking, by the way, if you wanted to, there is definitely space to have an extra bedroom in this house. But then in the neighbouring house, there is even more space, because basically the way that I did it, both of the houses have at least an extra bedroom space, which is currently going to be a garage. I wanted to decorate them to be semi-realistic, and so on the exterior, where I placed the garage door, on the inside, I just made it into like a garage utility room kind of space. In the first house, I made it so it's part laundry room, but then I made it so it looks like some sort of like little band practices in there. I was more so thinking it could potentially be one of the parents has a little band that they're in, and they have a little group gathering that maybe comes together once a week and they practice in that little garage space. But yeah, in there I placed down like a little keyboard, I placed down a guitar and a microphone, and then by the garage door on the inside I placed down what I think looks like a bed sheet. It's actually meant to be a TV. We got it from the little campers kit, but it looks like they've tried to cover up the garage door by placing down this bed sheet behind it, and it's really cute. But yeah, that is in the first house. In the second house, which you can see that I'm coming in and basically figuring out the main structure for right now, this one ends up having 3 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms, but this one, technically on paper, it's got enough space, so if you wanted to, it could actually end up being a 6-bedroom house. So one of the potential bedrooms in this one is again the garage space, but for this house I tried to make it a little bit more stereotypical classic garage, if you get what I mean. So in there we got washing machine, tumble dryer. I placed down some like skiing and snowboarding equipment to make it look like maybe this family goes to Mount Conrebby in the winter time, you know, they go on like little skiing holidays or something. But then there is also like a beverage fridge in there. It makes sense for the Sims family that's going to live in this one. But yeah, that one's more like typical suburban family home, just box standard kind of garage. But also in this house, there ends up being a little playroom for the kid of the household. So in there, we've got like a little TV area. We've got some bean bags, bookcases, doll's house, drawing table, just loads of different stuff basically for the kid in this household. But there also ends up being a home office as well, which is on the downstairs portion of the house, and it is right by the front door. But I mean, technically, if you wanted to, you could definitely just shot a bed in there and yeah, you've got an extra bedroom space. But just for the way that I decorated these houses, I just want them to be either 3 or 4 bedroom, just for the idea for the families that are going to live in each one of the houses. But yeah, that's kind of like the overview for both the houses. I did try and decorate them both to be quite like typical suburban on the inside as well, because normally whenever I do residential rentals, if I have got like 3 houses on the one lot, I'll make it so one of the houses is a little bit more either run down or it was decorated in like the 80s or something. But for this one, I decorated them to be both like typical American suburbans, but one is a little bit more like modern-ish, if you want to put it that way, and the other one is the family hasn't got as much money as their neighbours, but you know, they've still got some nice furnishings. It's just not as modern and more up-to-date as the neighbour's house. But moving over from that and actually getting on and talking about the storyline for the Sims that I imagine living in both these houses. Now, I'm just so in love with this storyline idea, but I will say the main bulk of the storyline does kind of revolve around the teenagers in each of the houses, because the way that I decorated the bedrooms, by the way, the house on the left-hand side, so the greenhouse, that ends up having a bedroom for a set of parents, a teenager, a kid, and then the 4th bedroom is kind of like a spare guest bedroom. I was personally picturing in my head something like maybe there is an older sibling, they've aged up, they've moved away to uni, or just something like that. Maybe they don't live in the house full time, but they come home for like Winterfest and stuff. Whereas the house on the right hand side, the blue house, that ends up having a parent's bedroom, a teenager's bedroom, and then also a kid's bedroom. But the way that the storyline kind of came together in my head, you might have noticed the way that I did the window placement for both the houses, I made it so there is purposely a window from each house looking into their neighbours. So the house on the left hand side, the greenhouse, I placed down a window which ends up being on the inside the teenager's bedroom, and they've got a window that looks on into their neighbour's house, which the bedroom that looks onto is also again another teenager's bedroom. And the idea for the storyline for the Sims that could potentially live in this house was kind of inspired by the music video by Miss Taylor Swift, which the music video is called You Belong With Me. Now, I would say hopefully you know who Taylor Swift is, but I mean, I feel like a lot of people probably know who Miss Taylor Swift is. She's an absolute icon, she's an absolute legend, she is just absolutely phenomenal. I'm a bit of a Taylor Swift fan, by the way. I'm a bit of a Swiftie. Not like a hardcore one. Like, I don't know the ins and outs, the lore, and like I don't follow it closely, but I'll put her music on when I'm driving in the car, have a little sing about. No one can hear me, thankfully, but yeah, I thoroughly do enjoy Taylor Swift music, and one of my favourite songs of hers is the song You Belong With Me, and especially the music video, because I remember growing up, I used to rewatch this video again and again and again, and it basically follows along the storyline of this girl. It's actually just Taylor Swift, but this girl who's a little bit of a band geek, but she really fancies and is so in love with her next door neighbour, and they can chat to each other through their windows because their bedroom windows kind of like look onto each other's, and they chat to each other using these signs, and it is just so sweet. It's always just stuck out to me in my mind. And so when I was building this house, as I was doing the window placement, I thought, hang on, perfect opportunity, why don't I make the storyline so I decorate the bedrooms, one for Miss Taylor Swift in the music video and the other one for her next door neighbour who she's got a massive crush on. If you haven't seen the You Belong With Me music video, by the way, or maybe you've seen it but it was a really long time ago, because I must admit this music video is like 15 years old or something, but it's just one of the things that I've always remembered. But if you haven't seen the music video, you by no means, you don't have to have watched it to follow along this speed build. But you know, I just kind of took the idea of these two teenagers, but in Sims terms, these two Sims being next door neighbours, and they both actually secretly really fancy each other, and their bedroom windows look onto each other, and of a night time they just after school sit down and write signs through the windows. I did also make reference, by the way, to this in the bedrooms. I placed down some debug signs and then also placed down some like debug pens and markers to make it really look like the Sims in these houses, yeah, they just have a little chit chat via signs of an evening. It's pretty sweet. But I did also try and decorate the bedrooms similar to the ones in the music video. Again, you don't have to have watched it to know what I'm talking about, but for the boys' room, I tried to go down a bit of like a sporty, kind of like popular lad in school kind of idea. So I placed down like loads of different awards and trophies in his room. I was thinking that maybe he's really into football and basketball and just pretty much anything sports related. I do really like the idea of maybe him growing up, aging up from a teenager to be a young adult, and maybe he's got some sort of like sporting scholarship at university. Maybe he's going to go to the University of Barchester or like Foxbury or something, and he's going to do some sort of like sporting scholarship. Whereas the girls' bedroom, bedroom, I did try and follow quite closely to the one in the music video, which it's got bright green wallpaper and purple curtains. Now, I don't think I've ever done that colour combo for a bedroom before, but I mean, I feel like I managed to make it work. I'm really happy the way it turned out, and I'll probably do that colour combo in some future teenager builds. But yeah, for that bedroom, I tried to follow it a little bit more closer to the music video, and I tried to place down loads of different like references and Easter eggs to either the music video itself or just Taylor Swift, and it was so much fun to decorate. But yeah, that was kind of like the idea that I had for just the teenagers in this house. So we've got one teenage boy that, you know, really sporty, gonna go off to uni, do some sort of like sporting scholarship or something. Imagine him to be quite popular in school, but still really lovely. Like, I imagine that he's popular, but he's still nice, because I feel like a lot of the time in either music videos or film or TV shows, if someone's kind of popular, they're almost not very nice. But I imagine that he's really lovely. Whereas the girl in the second house, she's in some sort of like after school music club. In both the music lyrics for You Belong With Me and then also in the music video, it references her being in the bleachers. I don't know what that means. I think that's the US way of just saying she's in band or like some sort of like music after school activity. So I'm taking it anyway, because I imagine that she comes from quite a musical family. And so, yeah, she's some sort of like band geek, and she keeps herself to herself. Probably doesn't have the biggest group of friends, but the friends that she does have are really nice to her and they're very loyal. And yeah, that was just kind of like the idea that I have for the teenagers. Now, in terms of the rest of the household's storyline, I must admit, I didn't really think too far into them, because I was just so excited about this idea of these two teenagers that are neighbours and they just secretly fancy the pants of each other. And when I was decorating, I was just getting so excited about decorating their bedrooms that I didn't really think too much into the rest of the household storyline. But the way they ended up being, I kind of have a storyline for at least one parent in both the households. So I was thinking, the girl that lives in the greenhouse, one of her parents is in the police department. Basically, I got this idea from, funny enough, decorating the back gardens, which I've actually now moved over into. But you can see that I end up decorating the back gardens to be quite differently from another. So the blue house on the left hand side currently, it ends up having a pool. It also ends up having like sun loungers and a nice little bonfire area that Sims can sit around and like roast marshmallows, have a little sing song and stuff. I imagine that this is the house that the popular boy would live in, and I imagine them to be someone that throws a lot of different house parties. And I was just thinking it might be really fun for a storyline if their next door neighbour is a police person and oftentimes have to, you know, walk around next door, knock on the door and ask them to keep the noise down. I just thought it would be really fun for a storyline. It's not too in-depth, but it was just something that I was thinking, and so yeah, I decided to make it. So potentially one of the parents in the greenhouse could be in the police department. I was also thinking when they're not at work, they are into band, and so that is the reason why I made like a little garage band area in their garage space. And it kind of then ties into the daughter being really into music, because she's from almost like a musical background, some sort of like musical family. Now, I don't have an idea for the second parent that lives in the greenhouse. Maybe it's a single parent household. I was definitely thinking the next house, the blue house, which I'm currently decorating the garden for. This is a single parent household, but I mean, for the other parent in the greenhouse, they could maybe be some sort of writer, or maybe they could be a cook. They could, honestly, you could make them to be anything, but I was just liking the idea of one of the parents, yeah, being in the police department, and in their spare time they like to dabble in a bit of music, and they have their friends around and they have like a little band thing in the garage space. But for the blue house, I was thinking it is a single parent household, and I was thinking it is a single parent, teenage boy, and then also a daughter. There is also a daughter in the neighbouring house, and I was thinking that they're probably really good friends. And this is the house, by the way, that ends up having the playroom in it. So I'm thinking they've got a little bit more money than their neighbours, and oftentimes the young girls would go around each other's houses and play in the playroom and just probably like the best of friends or something. If you wanted to, there is definitely potential to have the storyline of the two parents in the neighbouring houses fancying each other. So maybe like the teenagers fancy each other, but then also their parents fancy each other. I feel like that might be quite fun for storyline purposes. But I was thinking that the parent in this house is someone in the business career, and that is the reason why there is a home office in this house. I liked the idea of them potentially being in some sort of like finance branch. We don't really have that with the business career off memory anyway, but I liked the idea of them, definitely being in like a businessy kind of career. But I was just thinking it maybe it's in like some sort of finance branch, and I liked the idea of them often not really being at home, and the teenage boy kind of has to take care of his sister, and then when his sister's mates around, he has to take care of his sister's friends, and then maybe that's why sometimes that both teenagers get to talk to each other, because when the teenage daughter goes and picks up her little sister from her next door neighbours, maybe she chats to the teenage boy, and then they can also chat through the window or something. But I do like the idea of one of the parents in the blue house being in finance and often going away on like work trips and stuff. But I was thinking that when they go away on these work trips, that's when the teenage boy would kind of throw all these different parties, and that's why their back garden ends up being quite party like. I tried to purposely place down things I was thinking might be quite fun if your Sims ever want to throw a pool party. So I placed down a massive swimming pool, that's the first thing, but then I also ended up placing down some sun loungers. I placed down like a music station, also have like a little bonfire, some seating areas, a grill, just things that your Sims might want to interact with if your Sims does throw a back garden party or like a pool party or something. Whereas their next door neighbours, the greenhouse, ends up being a completely different back garden situation. I tried to make it seem a little bit more, I don't want to say like humble, but not as extravagant as their next door neighbours. They ain't got a swimming pool. They've got like an old rotten shed in their back garden, which, it looks like it's seen better days. It looks like it doesn't even really hold up that well. It looks like it's actually going to fall apart. But the little shed that I placed down, by the way, it's just from the live edit menu. Your Sims can't actually go inside of it. It's just purely for decoration. But I like the idea of, this back garden being a little bit more regular family home that doesn't have a swimming pool. Like I said, I tried to decorate both houses to be American suburban, but one just has a little bit more money than the other one, and I tried to get the point across a little bit in the back garden by placing down this quiet rundown shed. But in this back garden as well, there does end up being a tree house. Now I think this is one of the only times that I've placed down a tree house in the game, which I didn't pre-build because normally whenever I place down a tree house, I've normally already get the idea in my head to place down it before I start filming. But when it came round to decorating this back garden, it then occurred to me in my head that it might be really fun for gameplay if you wanted to build this tree house, and then maybe when the teenage boy throws all these different house parties, probably invites his next door neighbour, but she's probably a bit shy, she doesn't really want to go to these parties and socialise with these people in this different social group. She probably then secretly goes into this tree house and maybe like watches over them or something, which that sounds really bad, but hopefully you're following along my drift. She's just a young girl, and I imagine that she really fancies the pants of her neighbour, but she's probably quite intimidated by her neighbour's friend group or like her neighbour's social groups, because they're like the popular people in school. She's a bit of like a band geek. She keeps herself to herself. She doesn't have that many friends, and so I like the idea for a storyline purpose of maybe her building the tree house, and then when her neighbour throws all these different parties, she can just go into a tree house and pretend that she's reading or something, but secretly she's just seeing who's attending and what's happening and stuff. But I do also really like the idea of one of the parents being in the police department, and if ever one of the parties gets a little bit out of hand, them having to go next door and just asking them to politely shut it down. But also in that back garden, I ended up placing down a few different planters. I placed down some big square ones where your Sims can have like 4 different plants running in them, or maybe just like a singular tree. But then I also placed down a mixture of small little circular ones. Also ended up placing down a table and then like a barbecue area, as well as a washing line for your Sims to hang their clothes on in the sunshine. But then I also placed down a paddling pool, because I thought it'd be funny for like storyline purposes of having this one neighbour who's quite popular in school, got this massive group of friends, doing quite well socially, and they've got this massive swimming pool, and their neighbour is really shy, keeps herself to herself, bless her, and she's got like a little paddling pool, which is kind of like the budget version of a swimming pool. I just thought it'd be really funny, and so there is also a little paddling pool in that back garden. But as you would have just quickly seen, I just revisited the first like portion of the lot, like the front street view, and I swapped around the cars on the driveway, because initially when I came in, I started decorating the driveway areas. I placed down a red car in front of the greenhouse, and then a black car in front of the blue house. But then once the idea occurred to me of, it might be really fun to have one of the parents be in the police department, the black car kind of looks like a police car in my mind, and so I just did basically a little switcheroo of the cars on the driveway. But now, as you can see, I've started moving on into the first house, which is the house on the right hand side, and this is the one that is blue. So for this house, where it's blue on the exterior, on the interior wallpaper, I decided to kind of follow it through, and I decided to use this base game blue and white wallpaper throughout the majority of the house. I did also use this wallpaper in different rooms we kind of like changed up the colour swatches of the top portion. So instead of it being blue, it might be like a beigey colour or something. But for the most part, I use this blue wallpaper throughout the whole entire house. So when you're walking through the front door, you're pretty much already in the dining room for this house. Out of the two houses that I built, I will say I definitely do prefer the floor plan for this one. More so just because, and it's going to sound really weird, but I really like the way that I did the staircase in this house. I think it's because normally whenever I do floor plans, I try and make it so the staircase is right by the front door, so your Sims will quite literally just walk in and then straight in front of them is a staircase, and that is the way that the floor plan pans out for the second house. But for this house, when I was doing the floor plan, it just made more sense for the upstairs portion for the staircase to be a little bit more pushed back into the house. And so yeah, when your Sims walk in through the front door, there is like a little coat rack, they can put their coats up, there's a brolly rack, get an umbrella. I also do end up placing down a bit of a half wall, because initially I placed down just a small little rug and just kind of called it a day, and then I went and did the decoration for the dining room, but then it was just looking a bit weird. Like I just wanted some almost like separation between the entrance part and then like where your Sims would sit down and eat dinner as a family. And so I ended up placing down a little half wall. But yeah, I really like the way that the floor plan panned out for this house, not even just for like the staircase area, but then for like the rest of the house, how everything is kind of connected to each other. Because from where the staircase is, we have this archway which goes into the lounge room, but then just off the lounge room we've got an archway that then goes into the kitchen, and then it just feels like it's all very like well connected, which sounds really silly. But either way, as you would have seen in the initial dining room, I ended up placing down the Dream Home Decorator table and then matching chairs. Also ended up placing down some bookcases in there. The ones that I use are from the Book Nook kit. Also ended up using a sofa from that kit as well, which I placed in kind of like this little snuggy area underneath where the staircase would go, because I had this space where I could have put some sort of like little side table, but quite close to the staircase I already placed down a side table, and so I didn't want to place down like another side table, so I placed down a little love seat in between kind of like this staircase area from the Book Nook kit. But either way, moving over, you can see that I've now moved on into the next room, which is the kitchen. So in here I decided to go for the Jungle Adventure counters and cabinets, and then I decided to pair it with this Home Chef Hustle fridge, and then I think the oven that I've used in this room is from the Snowy Escape expansion pack off memory. But in here, as you can see, I tried to again follow along with this blue theme in the build. I tried to go for this wallpaper, which is from the Parenthood game pack, but it looks like it's got this tone of blue within the actual tiles itself, and it kind of matches the blue on the wallpaper that I've used throughout the rest of the house. In here, I ended up placing down this coffee making station, which we've only recently just got in the game. We got it from the Cozy Bistro kit recently, and it comes in this beautiful like deep red maroon swatch, and I think I've used it in last week's build of memory, but I don't think I pointed it out. But yeah, that new coffee machine, we got it from the Cozy Bistro kit, and it's really pretty, and so I decided to use it in this room. Behind the coffee station, I did also place down some little tins of what I was thinking would be like tea and coffee, and then I placed down some little mugs as decoration, and then also behind it on the wall, I placed down the Parenthood board, which your Sims should normally be able to like set curfews and stuff on. I purposely placed it down for decoration. I didn't place that down for like gameplay, so if you want that to actually be usable, you will have to move it, because when it came around to it playtesting this house, I did just try my luck to see if it was usable. But yeah, unfortunately the Parenthood board that I placed down it's purely for decoration, but I kind of only wanted it for the decoration purposes. But also in that room, that's something that I quickly wanted to point out. You might notice I placed down a microwave on the corner counterpiece, and then at one point I took the counter away, but it deleted the microwave by accident. I realised once I finished doing up that room, and then once I realised it'd been popped down into my little household inventory thing, I basically re-added the microwave. And so if you did notice that, don't worry, that kitchen does end up having a microwave area. But currently, as you can see, I've now moved over and I've started decorating the home office. So going back to the idea for the parents of each of the households, I was really thinking that one of the parents would be in some sort of like business career more so than finance. And I was thinking, well, if they're in that sort of career, they're probably going to need some sort of home office. You know, a lot of people work from home nowadays, and so where they're in such a fancy career, I imagine that they earn a lot of money. It'd probably be a nice idea for them to have a little home office. And so in there, I ended up placing down a computer desk with a computer on it. Also ended up placing down a little bookcase in the corner, a little armchair. Also ended up placing down the seasons decorations box, which your Sims can like set different decorations with that. Realistically, I probably should have placed it down into the garage, but it kind of made sense to place it down into the home office in front of some filing cabinets. But either way, moving over, you can see that I've now moved on into the next room, which I've kind of like gone backwards upon myself because I did the initial like entrance hallway where the dining room table was, and then I moved over into the kitchen. Realistically, like, if I was wanting to follow along with the floor plan for this house, I should have moved over to the lounge room, but I just went and did the home office quickly and then I've revisited this area. But either way, as you can see in here, I decided to go for these base game sofas in the cream swatch. I then also decided to pair it with this fireplace that we got from Cats and Dogs, and then eventually this little table in the middle, which is from the Book Nook kit. Now looking back on it, I really wish I added in some pillows onto the sofas because the sofas, I love them, but they're looking a little bit plain. Now I'm looking back on it. When I was building, they looked fine, but now that I'm re-watching it back as I'm chatting to you, I feel like them sofas could do with a cushion on it, which feel free to add if you want. If you've got the Modern Luxe kit, we've got some lovely little decorative pillows, and actually wait, no, I think with base game we're going to be getting some plain pillows as some sort of like login reward. Have you seen this? I'm a bit confused about it. I don't really understand about it. Basically, from my understanding, we're going to be getting some sort of like login system where if you log into The Sims every single day, or like every other day, or at least once a week, I don't really know anything about it, don't tell them to me, I'm not a news channel, but when you log in a certain amount of times in a week, you get some sort of like login reward system. And I've seen a preview. Apparently one of the things that we're going to be getting from this new login reward thing is a plain pillow, which I love the idea of a plain pillow, I can't lie to you, but the only thing I'm thinking of is, well, what about if I build a house and maybe the week that I built the house you didn't log in and you didn't get the item that I placed down into the house that I built? When you download the build of the gallery, will the item be in there? Will it disappear? Will you not be able to access it? Because I don't like the idea of that. Not everyone plays The Sims every single day, and so yeah, I'm not really sure how I feel about this new like system that they're adding into the game. I like the fact that they're like giving us rewards if we do log in, but it's kind of a bit if you don't play the game. Not everyone can play the game every single day. It's like, you know, with some of the expansion packs that we've been getting in the past couple of years, if you get the expansion pack basically before it goes on sale, you have like a bonus item. I don't like that. Normally whenever I do my builds, I try and avoid using the bonus items because not everyone can buy the pack straight away. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah, I'm not really sure how I feel about that. But either way, besides the point, that is completely besides what I was meant to be speaking about. But if you do eventually end up placing down this house and you want to pop some pillows, if you have the Modern Luxe kit, I'd probably add one of them. Or if the base game pillow comes into the game, you could definitely add that as well. But either way, as you would have seen, I quickly just did the little playroom for this house. In the playroom, I end up using this TV, which looks to be some sort of like bedsheet thing. It's the one that I end up placing down into the neighbour's garage as some sort of like backdrop behind the garage mural. But also in that playroom, I end up placing down a little doll's house, placed down like a little drawing table, some bean bags. But currently moving over, you can see that I'm coming in and decorating the first garage. So this is the one that I tried to make a little bit more like stereotypical, more so people have this type of garage than their neighbouring garage, because like I said, the neighbour's garage ends up having some sort of like band practice room in it. But in here, I decided to place down the washing machine and the tumble dryer. Next to the washing machine and the tumble dryer, I placed down a little wall, and then behind it I placed down this fridge, which I was thinking would be a beverage fridge for the teenage boy in this household, because like I said, I imagine that they throw a lot of different parties. But also in here as well, I placed down some ski and snowboarding racks that we got from the Snow Escape expansion pack. I'm thinking where this family probably has a little bit more money than their neighbours, maybe they go on like ski and snowboarding holidays in the wintertime or something, and you need somewhere to keep all your equipment, and so ends up being in that room. Also end up placing down a few different boxes of like decorations. I do also end up placing down this power supply thing that we got from the Eco Lifestyle expansion pack, which does offer some sort of gameplay with like your Sims and their power supply or something, but it felt like it fitted in the garage, and so yeah, I decided to plop down into there. But currently, as you can see, I'm now coming in and decorating the first bathroom. Once again, I'm following along with the blue scheme in this house, and so with the bathroom, I decided to go for this wallpaper. We got it from the Grown Together expansion pack, but then I paired it with this base game tile on the floor. But in here, I decided to go for a shower and bath combo that we got from the Grown Together expansion pack. I placed down some sort of like unit that looks like it's got spare toilet roll and little baskets of like lotion and stuff. I then also placed down a little toilet and sink area, and then in the window frame itself, it kind of like pops out into the roof, and it looks like it's got some sort of ledge for your Sims to place down some clutter onto it. And so I placed down, I think, a candle and then also a plant. potentially also some towels or something. But either way, moving over, you can see that I've now moved on into the first bedroom, which ends up being a kid's bedroom. Now in here, you might notice I did have a bit of a faff trying to figure out the furniture placement in this room, because this room is such a weird shape. You basically walk in through the bedroom door and it's really narrow and skinny, but then either side we've got these two bump outs which are quite decent side, and I just didn't know how I was going to place down furniture in this room and just make it feel really homey and snug. And so you would have seen on the left hand side I did decide to pull in basically the bump out in the roof line to make it a little bit smaller, but then when I actually came in and I started taking photos of the room and I started just taking the screenshots and playtesting, I didn't like the way that it was looking on the exterior. So you might notice in the screenshots at the end of the video I did decide to basically re-add in that bump out that I kind of shrank in this room where the bookcases are. But in this room regardless, there ends up being a little armchair in one of the corners, and I placed down like a little toy box next to it. For this kids bedroom, I didn't really decide to decorate it towards any certain like theme or any sort of like interest, because sometimes when I decorate kids bedrooms I find it a little bit easier to go down that route. For the neighbour's house, so like for the next door's kids bedroom, I decided to go for like a princess castle fairy theme in that room. It's really sweet. But for this one I just tried to make it quite generic. I did also struggle because this is the house that has a playroom downstairs, and so I was thinking, well, I don't want to add in another doll's house because, you know, there's literally one downstairs. I don't want to add in like a drawing table because again there's one downstairs. And so in the bedroom I ended up placing down a science table. The one that I've used is from the Snow Escape expansion pack. That way the kid in this household literally has all the different types of gameplay that they can interact with. You know, you've got a drawing table, you've got doll's house, you've got a few different teddy bears, and then also somewhere to experiment and make loads of different potions and stuff. But either way, as you would have seen, I finished up that bedroom and now moved over into the next bedroom, which I decorated to be for a set of parents, or I was personally thinking a single parent. So in here, I decided to go for this bed, which we got from the Seasons expansion pack, more so because the way that this bedroom is shaped, I knew that I needed the bed to be kind of in front of where the window is, but with the window, I still wanted to use the window ledge. But the bed that we got from Seasons has a really low bed frame, and so I was able to use it, but then still kind of like utilise the space on the window frame. And so yeah, I decided to place it down in, again, this blue colour. I just loved blue when I was decorating this house. I was really in for this all blues colour scheme. But in here as well, I ended up placing down some bookcases that we got from the Book Nook kit. Also ended up placing down this little chest of drawers that we got from the For Rent expansion pack. Honestly, I have been using this a lot recently. I feel like it's very up to today's almost like trends in furniture pieces. I don't know if it's just maybe me, but I feel like I see a lot of similarities in a lot of trends of furniture pieces nowadays in real life that kind of cater towards this almost like woven style that's in the furniture piece. And so yeah, I feel like I've been using this chest of drawers a lot recently. But either way, also in that parent's bedroom, I ended up placing down a little armchair on one side of the bed. Where I was thinking it was a single parent, I didn't want to have two bedside tables, and so I thought maybe I'll just have one bedside table and then just pop a little chair next to the other one. But either way, moving over, as you can see, I've now come in and started decorating the last bedroom in this house, and this one ends up being decorated for the teenage boy. So like I said, when I was decorating both this teenager's bedroom but then also the neighbouring teenager's bedroom, I tried to watch the You Belong With Me music video quite closely and try and follow the bedroom decorations in that music video. The thing is though, for the boys' room from You Belong With Me, you don't really get to see his bedroom. You only really get to see it from the girl's bedroom's point of view. Like, you get to see it through the window, and what I can make out from her window view is he had a blue decorated bedroom, and he also had loads of different medals and awards and trophies that in my head kind of reference the sports that he is into. And so for this room, where I decorated the rest of the house to be very blue, I felt like it would be a bit overpowering if, you know, I decorated the downstairs dining room and then the lounge room and then the hallways all to be blue, and then use that same wallpaper in this room. And so instead of that, I decided to use the same wallpaper but in a green. This is not green. It's because I looked at the curtains and they're green, in a grey swatch. And then I decided to use a bed in here, which is from the High School Years expansion pack, but the bed itself is blue, so it still kind of ties in together. But in here, I ended up placing down one of the wardrobes that we got from the Get Together expansion pack, again in kind of like a bluey, tealy kind of swatch. I then also placed down this rug that we got from High School Years, which looks to be the school mascot. I'm thinking the teenager that sleeps in that room, you know, big into sports. I also placed down loads of different sports posters onto the walls. I placed down some from base game, and then the ones that I placed down behind the bed are from the high school years expansion pack. But also in that room as well, there ends up being a little computer desk area. I placed down some awards and some medals on the computer desk, and then next to the computer desk, you would have seen, I placed down this armchair. The one that I've used is from, again, the high school years expansion pack, and it wasn't until I come in and I start decorating the next teenager's bedroom that I add in them debug signs that I was talking about, like the markers, to make it look like that teenager ends up speaking to the teenager that's next door. But if you're thinking, hang on, you didn't place it down, it's because I do it when I decorate the next teenager's bedroom, because I kind of had a bit of a blank in my mind when I was decorating that bedroom. But either way, moving over, as you can see, I finished up the first house, and now moving over to the second house, which is the greenhouse on the left hand side. So for this house, in terms of the colour scheme, instead of going for like a darker wood, which I tried to go for in the neighbour's house, I tried to go towards more like lighter colour furniture and like a lighter colour scheme overall. I decided to use this wooden floor, which the floor that I've used in here, it's from the Cats and Dogs expansion pack. I remember when we first got the Cats and Dogs DLC, I used to use this flooring everywhere in every single one of my builds, but I feel like nowadays we get so many different DLCs that offer so many different wooden floors that I kind of forget about this one, but it was kind of perfect for this house, and so yeah, I decided to use it in here. But by the front door area, I ended up placing down a little Cats and Dogs side table, as well as a nice little mirror. I then placed down like a little rug by the front door, I think also like a little coat rack, and then by the staircase I placed down some sort of like shelving unit. Again, we got it from the Cats and Dogs expansion pack, and then a little armchair, which actually again is from the Cats and Dogs expansion pack. It's kind of like a stripy armchair, and it looks a little bit not dated, but you know, if this Sims family was to go to the furniture shop nowadays, they probably wouldn't purchase that. Maybe they purchased it a little while ago and, you know, they just haven't updated their furniture. Going back to when I was decorating these houses, I wanted both of them to be classic suburban family homes, but one of them's a little bit outdated in comparison to the other. It's not like old fashioned, it wasn't like built in like the 80s and they haven't decorated since then. It's more like they're not up to date with the furnishings, if you get what I mean. But either way, you can see over here, I've now started coming in and decorating the dining room. So for the dining room in this house, ends up being a lot bigger than the other one and kind of like a more fancier dining room space. I end up going for this 3 tile long table. The one that I've used is from the Sims 4 base game, but then I decided to pair it with these chairs, which again, they are from the Cats and Dogs expansion pack. Honestly, I use so much Cats and Dogs in this house. I'm now only realising how much I did actually use, but the furniture style that we got from that DLC was kind of perfect for this house. And so both the chairs in this room, as well as the little hanging ceiling light above the dining room space, they are also from Cats and Dogs, as well as this little side table over here that I just finished cluttering up with some bookcases and like an odd lamp and stuff. But in this dining room, where I was thinking both the teenager in this household, as well as one of the parents, is really into music, I kind of wanted to make reference to that in some sort of way. And so I placed down this standing piano in the corner. The one that I've used is from the Growing Together expansion pack. I nearly said the Get Together expansion pack. Honestly, it's so confusing. We've got so many different DLCs at this point in the game. And I mean, we're only just going to be getting more. We're also meant to be getting a new expansion pack fairly shortly. And it's romance related or something. I'm really hoping it's some sort of like French inspired world or something, because I would love a Parisian style world in the game. But yeah, with the Growing Together expansion pack and the Get Together expansion pack, honestly, it's a bit of a tongue twister when it comes to voiceovers, because I sometimes will almost say that something is from a completely different pack to what it actually is. But either way, it's from the Growing Together DLC. But moving over, as you can see, I've now moved on. I started furnishing this house's kitchen. So in here, I decided to go for my favourite all-time counters, which are these ones from base game. Again, this style of counter is just so perfect for this house, and so I knew coming into this build I was going to be using them. I did decide to pair them with both the oven and the fridge, which are from Get Together, and then also in this room I placed down a little slim dishwasher. The one that I've used I think is from the Home Chef Hustle stuff pack, but also in this room as well I went through and cluttered up the kitchen counters. I ended up placing down some like cookbooks and coffee mugs and just random bits and bobs, random cookbooks, just random stuff in here, just trying to make it feel really homey and really decorated. But also ended up placing down a little microwave onto one of the corner counters, and then on top of the microwave I placed down some cookbooks. Also as well, actually, I placed down a kettle into that kitchen, because where I placed down the Cozy Bistro coffee making machine in the other kitchen, I felt like I needed to place down the kettle, because ever since we've got kettles in the game rather than just coffee making machines, I more so just want to place down the kettle, because your Sims can make a cup of tea and a cup of coffee, and I think also hot chocolate off memory. But with the coffee making station, it's just really just, you know, your Sims can make a cup of coffee, but in that kitchen I wanted your Sims to have the option for both, and so yeah, I placed down a little kettle. But moving over, as you can see, I've now moved on into the garage. Now for this garage, it is actually smaller than the next door neighbour's garage, which is actually kind of backwards, because for next door, you would have seen it already, you know, we placed down like a beverage fridge in there, we've got a washing machine and a tumble dryer, but the majority of the stuff in the garage is just purely for decoration purposes, whereas this garage, it ends up being more like gameplay orientated, but it's actually smaller in space. But I feel like I managed to make it work. In here I ended up placing down this shelving unit that we got from the StrangerVille game pack, and then next to it I ended up placing down the washing machine and tumble dryer combo that we got from the Laundry Day stuff pack. But I placed down a little keyboard in here, also placed down a little microphone, and then also a little guitar. I then placed down the same TV that I placed down into next door's playroom, you know, the one that is actually kind of like a bed sheet, but it's got like all these little fairy lights around it. But I just thought it'd be really nice as some sort of like backdrop for the garage band in this house, and so yeah, I decided to pop that in there as well. Also ended up placing down a few different rugs onto the floor, and then also placed down a radio station in that room as well, but it looks to be some sort of like guitar amp, and so I felt like it was quite fitting for that room, and so yeah, I decided to place that down. But either way, moving over, you can see that I've now moved on into the next room, which is the lounge room. So in here, I just tried to make it feel as homey and just as welcoming as I could possible. I imagine that this family is a little bit closer than their neighbours. You know, I feel like their neighbours, one of the parents is often going away on business trips and stuff and probably isn't at home that often, but for the family that lives in this house, I was thinking that at least the teenage daughter, the little girl, and then also one of the parents would be living here, and so I just wanted it to be really homey and just really sweet, and I really like the way this room came together. In here I decided to go for this fireplace. The one that I've used is from the Growing Together DLC, and then I decided to pair it with these sofas, also from that expansion pack, but then I decided to use this bookcase on one side of the wall. The one that I've used is from the Crystal Creation Stuff pack. Currently on the floor I have this rug, which is from, I think, the Sims 4 Eco Lifestyle expansion pack off memory. It's either Eco Lifestyle or Discover University, because I know from both of them DLCs we've got this really big square rug, but I'm pretty sure it's from, yeah, the Eco Lifestyle expansion pack, but you'll see it in a second. I ended up switching it out. It just felt a little bit too modern for how the rest of the house is decorated, and so I decided to switch it to be one that we just got from base game. But in here as well I placed down a little separate TV console unit. I just wanted the TV to kind of be dead center where your Sims would kind of like sit down and watch TV together, but I didn't want to place it down to the fireplace, because sometimes I feel like the fireplaces that we've got in the game, they're a bit high, and so if your Sims were to sit down on the sofa and then look up at the TV, it might hurt their neck, and so I decided to place it down onto kind of like a little separate side table. But also in this lounge room I ended up placing down a chess table on one side of the wall, purely for decoration purposes and also kind of for gameplay. It then gives your Sims something else to do in the lounge room rather than just reading a book and watching telly or something. But you can see that I pretty much just finished off that room and now moved over into the first bedroom in this house, which is almost like a study guest bedroom kind of area. So you'll see in a second where the idea for one of the Sims being in the police department really comes through, because in this bedroom I was thinking that maybe this household has another kid, maybe like another son or something, and the son has now since aged up and moved away and gone to uni. Maybe they come home when it's like Winterfest time or maybe for Harvest Fest or something, but the majority of the year this bedroom is pretty much vacant, and so one of the parents decided to turn it into almost like a little home office working space. But on the computer desk area I basically find some like criminal case files that we got from the Sims 4 Get to Work debug menu and place it down onto the computer desk to make it look like the Sims that is in the police department is actively working on a case. Of course, if you want to download this build and you don't want one of your Sims to be in the police department career, feel free to delete it. It was something fun to decorate the walls when I was decorating this room. But yeah, I ended up placing down some case files and then some like crime photos onto the computer desk, and then also ended up placing down some sort of like home office bin, but then I purposely placed down some scrap pieces of paper by the bin to make it look like they've been writing notes on it and they've tried to throw it into the bin but they've missed the bin and it's just kind of like sitting on the floor. But also in this room, as you can see, I ended up placing down this double bed that we got from the Dream Home Decorator game pack, and then on one side I placed down a tiny little bedside table, and then the other side I ended up placing down some sort of like laundry bin kind of situation. It was more so just to fill out the empty space, but next to the laundry bin I placed down this bookcase that we got from the Sims 4 base game, but you might have noticed I ever so slightly sized it up basically, I liked the idea of making it look like potentially the computer desk was built in to the bookcase, because they do come in at some very similar colour swatches, and so I ever so slightly sized up that bookcase to make it so a certain ledge on the bookcase or a certain shelf would kind of line up with the computer desk, if you get what I mean. But either way, as you can see, I just finished up that room, and now I've moved on to the upstairs portion of the house. I'm coming in and decorating this house's bathroom. So for this one, I decided to use the same shower and bath combo that I use in next door's bathroom, but this time I decided to use it in a lighter colour swatch. Also decided to place down these Dream Home Decorator kitchen counters as kind of like the sink unit. Then place down some like toothbrushes and extra towels and some like tube of empty, maybe it's toothpaste, maybe it's body lotion, I don't know what it is, but I placed that down into the little unit. And then I just placed down a little laundry basket as well as the toilet. But now moving over, as you can see, I've now started decorating the next bedroom in this house, which I decorated to be for a little girl that really likes castles and like fairy princesses. Now, for some reason, I've just never really done the theme for a kid's room to be like a Disney princess, which in reality, I feel like so many little girls or little boys want to grow up one day and like be a prince or a princess or something. And so when it came around to decorating this room, more so from the wallpaper, I just had the idea of, or one, I try and decorate it to be some sort of like Disney princess, fairy princess, just really likes castles and fairies and just all things magical basically. And so in here I decided to go for this bed. The one that I've used is from the Seasons expansion pack. I then decided to pair it with these curtains that we got from the High School Years expansion pack, but on at the bedside table, which I just cluttered up, I placed down a little fairy wand. It's from the Realm of Magic game pack, and I must admit it is quite literally a magical wand. So if this little girl wants to, she can age up one day, she can become a spellcaster, and she's already got a magic wand in her bedroom. But I just really like the look of it, because to me, it looks really almost like gimmicky and kind of like stereotypical classic fairy wand. It's kind of like this white and gold stick, but on the end of it, it looks to have some sort of star. And to me, if I was to ever picture some sort of like fairy costume to dress up in for Halloween, I'd always picture someone to hold a wand that looks like that. And so yeah, I place it down onto a little bedside table, but also in this room to kind of get the point across of Disney princess and fairies and stuff. I placed down at this doll's house, the one that I've used is from base game, but I sized it down really small and basically moved objects here onto the chest of drawers. I then also went through the debug menu and found the dolls that your Sims would interact with when they do play in that doll's house, and I popped them onto a little shelving unit above it. I placed down a princess looking one, and then also some sort of like cowboy cowgirl looking one, but then the debug menu, and they're also free, and they also are really nice for decoration. And so yeah, I decided to plop them down onto the shelving unit. But then also in this room as well, I knew that if I wanted to do this kind of like fairy princess theme, I needed to place down this one object. We got it from the Growing Together expansion pack, and it's a little teddy bear, and it looks like the teddy bear is a fairy. It's got like a little tutu and everything. It's so adorable. I really wish that was a usable object. Unfortunately, it's just purely for decoration, but it is kind of perfect for this room. And so yeah, so I just place that down in here. Also end up placing down the doll's house from the Eco Lifestyle expansion pack. The one from Eco Lifestyle your Sims can actually interact with and your Sims can actually use. The one that I sized down and put onto the chest of drawers, it's just purely for decoration. Your Sims can't actually interact with it, but I feel like that's a little bit of a given anyway. But also in this room as well, I ended up placing down a unicorn teddy bear in the corner, as well as a little toy box, and then I think also finished it off with a base game rug. You would have seen I went through a bit of a process trying to figure out what rug I wanted to go for in that room, but yeah, I just settled on a base game one. But now moving over, I've now moved on into my favourite room in this whole entire lot, which is the teenage girl's bedroom. So in here, I tried to follow it as closely as I could from the bedroom in the You Belong With Me music video. So one of the things that I noticed straight away was the bright green wallpaper and the purple curtains. Like I said, it's a colour combo that I never really have done before in the game, but I feel like I managed to make it work. The wallpaper that I use is just from base game, but the curtains that I've used are from the High School Years expansion pack. I'm pretty sure there's a more purpley version of these purple curtains, but I didn't want to go full pelt. I needed to brace myself, needed to edge myself into the decoration process, because to have purple curtains with a green wallpaper, to me, in my head, initially didn't feel like it would make sense. But yeah, I love the way this bedroom turned out. In here, I decided to go for this bed. We got it from the High School Years expansion pack, and then I tried to find a really tall bedside lamp to go on the bedside table, because if you was to watch the music video, she's got a really tall bedside lamp. I don't know where she found it from, but I tried to find something similar to it in the game. Unfortunately, I couldn't, so I decided to go for the tallest bedside table lamp that we have got, and the one that I've used is from the Get Famous expansion pack. But also in here as well, I wanted to try and make use of this butterfly neon light that we recently got in the game. It's from the Party Essentials kit, and basically the reason why I wanted to place it down, if you was to watch the music video, in her bedroom behind her bed frame, she's got some sort of like butterfly painting, and I wanted to try and include it into the build. I just wanted to try and reference it as best as I could possible, but for some reason this butterfly neon light, you cannot size down for the life of you. I don't know why the Sims team make it like it, but for some reason this light you cannot size down. But I knew that I wanted to include it somewhere in this bedroom, and so I decided to plop it down over on this wall over here. But then also over here I ended up placing down some sort of like what I was imagining would be trumpet or some sort of musical instrument case onto the floor. We don't have trumpets or like a saxophone in the game, which is what I was personally picturing that this sim would play, but because we don't have it, I thought, well, place down the case, and then in my head it's just inside of the case, if you get what I mean. But next to that, as you can see, I placed down a little country guitar. It's Taylor Swift. It's a Taylor Swift bedroom, and I was thinking that is literally Taylor Swift if she was a musical instrument, because she's a woman of many talents, and one of them is she can play and sing on the guitar. And so yeah, I placed down a little country guitar in here as well. I then also placed down a computer desk, and I purposely placed down a globe on the computer desk. You might be thinking that is such a weird random object to place down into this room, because it looks quite old fashioned. It looks like it belongs in like a home office or something, but again, in the music video, she had a globe on her desk, and I tried to make reference to that, as well as the mirror that I placed down into the bedroom. The mirror I use is from the Horse Ranch expansion pack, but in the music video, quite a big portion of it, she's like singing in front of these mirrors, and she's changing into all these different outfits, and I wanted to reference that as best I could in her bedroom, and so I placed down 3 of the same mirror to try and make it look like the one in the music video. And I'm just so happy with the way that the bedroom turned out. Just think it looks so sweet. I absolutely love it. But either way, moving over, as you can see, I've now moved on into the last bedroom in this house, which is the parents' bedroom. So in here, I decided to go for the bed that we got from the Cats and Dogs expansion pack, and then also have 2 matching bedside tables. Also decided to place down another get-together wardrobe in this room, this time in a white swatch, and then finish off that bedroom by placing down a little armchair as well as an ottoman. But other than that, I'm going to go around this build, finish it off by decorating this hallway, and that is pretty much it. So anyway guys, I'm going to end this voiceover right here. As always, you can download this build via the gallery. My gallery ID is JessicapieYT, or you can search for the hashtag JessicapieYT or just the hashtag Jessicapie. As always, thank you guys so much for watching this video, and as always, if you do like my content, then please subscribe, and hopefully I will see you in my next Sims 4 speedrunning video. Bye guys.